In today's video, we're going to be jumping into some 33 Immortals, a brand new indie roguelike game that's actually very ambitious and allows up to 33 players to play at once. The game has a lot going for it, but it does definitely take a bit of investment, and unlocking everything and increasing your feat levels definitely takes a little bit of time. With that in mind, what I've put together is going to be the best perks that I think you should be investing in so that you don't waste too much time or resources of your eternal shards on ones that you may well not be using later on. So in my opinion, there are 8 standout ones that definitely excel over the others, and what I've done, I'm going to put them in a list, going from 1 to 8. With the higher up it goes in ranks, the better I believe it is to slot into your build. So number 1 would be the best overall. Starting off with my 8th pick, and this one is not bad in the slightest, but I think there's definitely a few out there that I'd pick above it, and that's going to be Rejuvenating Vigour. This increases the chance of you finding your rare or epic relics, and as you start playing through the game, you'll realise that these are actually much more powerful than the standard ones, so they're definitely worth investing in. However, I have found even with this on, sometimes it's very hit and miss, so currently I'd probably put it a little bit lower down the list, but endgame, when it's at max 50%, it may well be worth you putting into your build. For number 7, and we have False Fate. The reason I'm putting this on here is because damage is pretty much king in every game similar to this, and the more damage you can dish out, the faster you can acquire things, and it's just going to make your life a whole bunch easier and make your runs much faster. At tier 1 this starts off at 1 attack, going all the way up to tier 5 where you're going to get 5 attack. Again, this is lower down the list because you can get it in other means. You can obviously get this when you're jumping into your maps and using up your resources, and for that reason it's a good pick, but I wouldn't have it in my first slot. I'd probably have it in like my 4th, 5th or 6th. Over to my number 6 pick, and this one's going to be Blissful Farewell. Very similar in vein to the earlier one, it's about trying to get better tier relics, and this one gives you rerolls for 10% cheaper at tier 1, all the way up to tier 5 where you get it for a massive 50% cheaper. I found myself re-rolling a lot in this game, often running out of bones, and this just made things much easier, and even when I wasn't getting the perfect setup, it made it so I had a very good setup in almost all occasions. Jumping over to 5, and we've got Scourge of Omnipotence. This one is a must for anyone who's leveling up, trying to get the most out of their actual gameplay, because you're going to need a ridiculous amount of eternal shards in this game in order to level up all of your perks. This at tier 1 gives you a 20% chance to find more eternal shards, but if you max it out to tier 5 you're going to have a 100% chance. So whenever you're destroying those breakable items or picking up the last chest after the boss, you should have a whole bunch more by the end of your missions. For number 4, and we have Morphology of Justice, you deal 5% more damage while dust is full. That's at tier 1, but at tier 5 it gives you a massive 25% damage. Now you might think, right, this is a bit niche, and on some occasions it can be, but this works hand in hand with something we'll be using later on in order to get more damage out of your build, and let's face it, everyone likes seeing those tasty big numbers. For number 3, we've got Astute Erudite. This is going to be your co-op power generator, and without this, honestly, you're always going to be a little bit further down on the leaderboards. Unfortunately, a lot of people will be taking this, they'll make them go up on the leaderboard when you do see the final results, and they'll be getting more Stardust. So if you're really low or very mid-level, it may well be because a lot of people have this maxed out, because ultimately it is just that good to have on a lot of builds, especially for anyone who generates a lot of power and a lot of damage with their special moves, such that at the moment the main one is probably the bow. If however you're not worried about where you place at the end, or if you've got a build that you think doesn't focus on this, for example probably something like Daggers doesn't have quite as necessary a co-op move as some of the other classes, then you can always pick up a relic in game that will kind of take this place. That's going to be this one right here, the Blood-Stained Stole. This gives you a 100% increased generation on your co-op powers, so it works out even better than this perk right here. Over to number 2, and like I said, damage, and we've got Imperial Deceptiveness. This is going to deal 100% crit damage whenever your co-op counter is above a certain rate. At the very first tier, it's going to be needed to be at 30 or above, but if you max this out, it only needs to be at 18. On bosses, you're going to see a significant increase in your damage, and this will just take them down much smoother and faster because of how much you'll be dishing out. If everyone has this on and you're all going in, racking up those co-op counters, you can do some bosses ridiculously fast. But over to my number 1 pick, and this is number 1 for a reason. It's because I think every single build, every single person should be using this, because without it, it's kind of like you're nerfing yourself. That's going to be Renewal of Dust. At tier 1 you gain 20% extra dust whenever you're defeating an enemy, but at tier 5 you manage to get 100% dust. Dust in this really helps you out to buff yourself, whether you're going for Vigour, Empathy or most probably Attack. It's going to help you to get your base damage all the way up, and most times with this on it means you're going to be able to max out at least one of your stats whenever you're doing one of your runs, and sometimes even a little more than that. As soon as I got this to max 5, I have not taken it off because it pretty much doubles up the base stats you'll be getting for your hero and just makes things a whole bunch easier overall. Right, they're going to be my top picks. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you think I've missed off, but I found these to be absolutely essential and just make clearing maps much faster. As always, there'll be more content from me. For now, take care. I'll see you on the next day.